All right, so Danielle and I first met in college up in Duluth. We shared a psychology class, and I immediately recognized her as the prettiest one in the room.
So there was a couple times I caught myself trying to look through the attendance sheet to see what his name was as I noticed him in class.
I guess did what it take to kind of get her attention. You know, it was something that I thought out, every Tuesday and Thursday, what do I wear? And as the teacher would ask questions, how do I say this and how do I grab her attention? And I mean, certainly it must have worked. We were at a bar on Thursday night, Grandma's Up Bar.
He kind of kept buying drinks, kind of trying to be that smooth guy, but it was fun, and he made me laugh, and it was kind of one of those nights that we all kind of let loose and had a good time and got to know each other. So towards the end of the night, we exchanged numbers, and he actually texted me that next day, which would have been Sunday, and we talked about maybe getting together or kind of just hanging out casually. And
she said that she wanted to watch Housewives and that she was planning on staying in, and I said, that's something that I'd be willing to watch with you, just to kind of show to her that I really wanted to meet her and I really wanted to learn more about her and grow the relationship.
He wanted to go on an official date to an Italian restaurant right on the water in Duluth. Small little place, very romantic for a first date, and he's Italian, so it was pretty fitting.
Right on Lake Superior, right on this little room just out of the back of this restaurant. Super, I guess intimate dinner, if you will.
But it was spring, so we only had a couple more, I want to say about a month left of school before he was moving back to Maple Grove to live at his parents' house for the summer, and I was actually staying in Duluth. So we kind of went into the summer knowing that it was going to be a long distance thing, and I think that's what made us really close throughout that summer, just kind of knowing that we wouldn't see each other every day, and he would make special trips up to Duluth. I remember one time he surprised me and actually picked up breakfast from our favorite local breakfast place in Duluth, Uncle Louie's, and showed up at my doorstep. I had no idea he was even going to be in town that weekend, and we just kind of had breakfast in bed. But things like that we kind of did that I feel like progressed our relationship a lot faster, just being long distance.
And I remember I was going through some challenges just landing the jobs that I wanted to, and I remember Danielle was just so supportive and was always there for me. And I remember at that point, it cemented that thought that she would be, somebody that would be here with me for the rest of my life. So
we started looking at apartments together, and we knew that we were just kind of at that phase. And I would say we were dating probably a year and a half, 2 years at that point, and I knew he was the one. I knew that he was my best friend, and we were going to spend our lives together, and this was just part of starting that together. He started his first job, I started my first job, so we were kind of in the adult world, kind of exploring that together. As
living with somebody and really getting to know somebody on that level helped me know that this is really the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with. And from there, it all came so natural. We got a dog shortly after, and finally realized that we needed more space to hold all of Danielle's clothes and everything that I had. So we purchased a house out in Chaska. And
for my birthday, we actually came home with an American Eskimo puppy, Kyle, and probably one of the best things that we've had happen to us, and we love him, and it's added everything to our relationship. And I've seen Drew be a dad in a sense, and that's been amazing to see, and I'm excited for everything else that has to come. We obviously got engaged in that house, and we brought Kyle home in that house, and we're excited to see what's next for us.
She was coaching basketball at the time for the school that she was working with, and she told me she was on her way home, and I don't know really what went through my mind, but I knew loud and clear that this was the person that I wanted to marry. And I quickly ran home. I ran to the gas station, I got some flowers. I remember running into the house as I was ripping the stems and the heads of the flowers off, kind of spreading them around the room.
And I got home in my basketball clothes, walked in the door, and I noticed that there was rose petals on the floor. And I'm looking for the dog, thinking of course he got into them. And at the same time, I'm hearing this noise above my head, and I take a minute to look up, and I see that it's Drew's remote control helicopter that I had bought him for Christmas. So he's playing with that, yet there's rose petals everywhere, and I'm confused, completely confused at this point. And there's no Kyle to be found. The dog's not anywhere. So I look over, and at that moment, Drew's walking over towards me, and he has the helicopter, and he gets down on one knee, and he lands the helicopter on his hand. And I still, at this point, do not know what's going on. I'm confused whether there's flowers on the floor, there's noises, and so he gets down on one knee, he lands the helicopter, and he looks at me, and he's shaking at this point. I mean, shaking. And he kind of like grabs onto me, and he lands the helicopter, and he pulls the ring off the helicopter that was dangling from the bottom, I guess, and looks at me and says,
certainly with a shaky voice, asked if she would marry me. And I think she made a comment about the helicopter before saying yes.
Still couldn't speak at this point, and I think the only thing that came out of my mouth at that point was, "You put my ring on your helicopter." And he's looking at me for a yes or no answer, and he just says, he says it again. He says, "Will you marry me?" And I said, "Yes, of course." And that's when, he got up off his knee and he gave me a big hug, and he's still shaking at this point. A very cool moment between him and I. It was totally Andrew. I call him a little nerd at heart. He had champagne, and we toasted and finished our Valentine's weekend together as a newly engaged couple.
Two.
Two and only two.
I'd be fine with 3. It all comes down to money.
Two.
If we have the money to have another.
Well, I want a boy and a girl. So 3 if we don't get that. And money. That's on his clock, and I think that also comes down to money. But
Yep.
I'm ready when it happens.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be a younger parent, but I want to be financially stable so the child has a good future ahead of them. I already am.
Andrew's already in charge of that. When we bought the house, or when we had the apartment, we made a bank account. So we just have money that goes into there, and he does all the bills, and we don't have to discuss it. It's easier that way. I think we both are.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm stubborn, but
I think we're stubborn at different times, which makes it easier and harder, I guess, but we're both stubborn people. Andrew.
usually me.
But that's how it should be. That's the guy's duty to say I'm sorry first. I do it later, like a day later usually.
Or once I point it out. Yeah, in this household.
In every household. He's right sometimes. Not all the time. Happy wife, happy life. I am.
Yeah, she's not messy. I'm just a perfectionist.
On a messy spectrum, I'm not messy. On Andrew's spectrum, I'm messy.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I've gotten cleaner over the years. On when I feel like it.
Right.
But I am not messy.
No.
Just not perfect. Yep.
In starting the relationship, Danielle. I mean, Danielle's had her timeline, I think, in the back of her mind. So she knew when she wanted to buy a house and move in and have children and get the dog. And I've kind of gone with the flow and said yes when appropriate.
What to watch on TV?
Yeah. There's Danielle's TV schedule is pretty demanding. So
I have my shows on Monday nights and Thursday nights, yes.
and Sunday. I mean, I think a really strong friendship. You know, of course we love each other, but we're really good friends and goof around and funny with each other and challenge each other and coach each other, and I think a good balance between being there as friends, but also kind of as lovers and spouses.
You're my best friend, and I think that's something that every relationship should have as foundation, and we really have that.